sleaze. That word, that's one word that feels just like it sounds, right? Sleazy. Well, I'm not going to talk about mud or mudslinging or politics, which is mostly sleaze these days. I'm going to talk about something that has to do with business, and especially if you're selling, consulting, or coaching, or teaching, or any of those kinds of things. Something I see all the time, and I used to really struggle with it, is selling, coaching or consulting. Now, it's funny because I spent a lot of years as a high-powered consultant before I became a coach. So the last 10 years of my career, 1998 to 2007, that's what I was a consultant. And I was in different places in the US and Canada. And I got paid a lot of money, like consultants often do. And in the consulting world, you better know the answers. Like, you're supposed to be able to do the research, figure something out, and then tell people what will work, what to do. In selling consulting, I didn't have the struggle that I had when I became a coach. Selling consulting was easy for me because I knew what I was doing. I knew exactly what answers were in the field that I was in, and it doesn't matter what it was. It could be true in any field. And I felt, okay, I'm the expert. I know this, so I can do this. And when I started coaching something completely different. As a coach, you and I, we're not paid to come in and have the answer. We're paid to develop the resource, to develop the client. Like, you don't want a client forever leaning on you, needing you to, quote, give them the answer, or courage, or, mindset stuff. Like, the goal is to develop them as an athlete, a coach, on a pro basketball or football or hockey team. And hockey's just getting ready to start here in Canada. Pretty excited about that. I didn't even used to know hockey or like it, and I live in Canada. Like, what else, right? So for the next 7-8 months, the rest of October, November, December, January, February, March, April, like, it's cold. And it isn't cold today, but it will be tomorrow. So here we come, right? In an athletic team, the coach is there to help the athlete develop and to keep them in the rails. So, like, last year, I live in Edmonton, and the Edmonton Oilers, for 2 years in a row, were in the finals, the Stanley Cup Finals, the most prestigious sports award in the world. And some people would argue the Lombardi Trophy and Super Bowl is, but it's actually the Stanley Cup. It's been around a lot longer, et cetera, et cetera. So they still have coaches, right? And the coach of the Edmonton Oilers, Chris Knobloch, I think, just got his contract extended for 3 years, even though he lost. The Edmonton Oilers lost now 2 years in a row in the Stanley Cup Finals, and the Florida Panthers won 2 years in a row. And, of course, they're looking this year for a three-peat. And the Edmonton Oilers are bound and determined to go get that cup. And the coach, what are they doing? Well, they're not going to play on the ice, and they're not going to actually, run drills. The coach's goal is to keep the energy high, to have every player focused at the right time in the right place, to make those difficult calls about when the goalie needs to be swapped out, to take this one out and put another one in, or players need to be moved a little different than the planned rotation. All that stuff and the mindset work, that's the real work of the coach. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie On Any Sunday. Al Pacino plays a coach, and he gives this incredibly memorable speech in a locker room talking about, a game of inches, and we're going to fight and die for that inch in the football team. That's what a coach does in athletics, and in many ways, a business coach or a life coach does the same thing. Now, I don't like the niche idea. I don't like niching down and saying, well, I'm a relationship coach or a business coach, and a lot of people will teach you to do that. I hate that, because the niche isn't about the need. The niche is a particular area of expertise where you function more as a consultant. And I can do that. There are several areas where I'm absolute world-class niche expert. But I don't like the consulting where, quote, having the answers. I like the squishy stuff that's hard in the heart, in the spirit, in the mindset. So I gravitate toward that, which spans across any business or vertical and really focuses on the development of the person, which is where I love. Now, the heart of any business, coaching or anything else, is what? Selling. You gotta sell stuff. You gotta enroll clients. And you know what's funny? Coaching schools that I've been to, they like to get rid of the word selling coaching. Well, enrolling clients and creating clients and all these mushy, stupid words that hide the truth, and they make it softer. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them, but they don't get rid of the idea still that you got to sell coaching. You got to sell. And people shy away from that because, your guts in your throat. I remember I screwed up so many enrollment calls, as it were, or enrollment conversations where I could have gotten a client and didn't, or I got one and felt so bad about it, I gave the money back because of the way that it went down, the energy sucked. All of those things, I've been through that for several years. And finally, I've learned how to do what the title of this video today is, which is selling without sleaze, without that feeling of doing something uncomfortable. And that's why we change the language. Well, we're going to enroll clients, or we're going to create clients. Baloney. You're going to do some stuff and have some convo, and the client's going to buy something. They're going to give you some cash, right? And you're going to create an arrangement. Now, the reason those other words are used, enrollment and creating clients, is because we're trying to emphasize, and I like them too, but we're trying to emphasize the difference between selling. We all know what it's like. The typical used car salesman, you go on the lot, you hate talking to them, and when somebody's walking over to you, you like want to dive under the car and hope they walk by, because they're going to start asking you stuff, and really is you don't know what you're doing, and you're just hanging out for a bit. So I want to talk for a minute about the selling part, or enrollment, or creating clients, however you want to phrase it, without any sleaze at all. Okay, and I'm not going to tell you anything probably that you haven't heard 1 or 100 times, but I'm hoping to talk about it in a different way so it lands for you differently, and you can go out this afternoon and enroll a client, or in the next couple of days. Now, there's several parts to it. You obviously have to make contact with people. You have to go where they are. I just saw a post from somebody that talked about moving to a different country and not knowing anyone, and this is a coach, and so they're going to networking events and, enrolling in conversations first, getting to know people, and through that conversation method, getting to know people, finding out if there are possibilities for people to work with. So the first thing, even though I'm talking about selling coaching, is get the idea, the whole old notion of selling, the hard pressure selling way, out of your head. We're taught to sell fab selling, features, advantages, benefits. That's fine for some things. It's very awkward, and I would say almost even stupid for coaching. And I'm going to get a lot of pushback on that. There's no question that features don't matter. Advantages only matter a little, and benefits are the real powerhouse, the benefit. The way I describe it to people is when you're talking about selling somebody something, you're asking for money. And so if they're going to give you some cash, they're going to take home a shopping bag. Like if you go to the grocery store and you give them some cash, you're going to take home a bag of stuff. So thinking about what is the bag, what's in the shopping bag that they take home, and I find it really tough for coaches to describe, well, I'm going to help you get out of your own way. And, we use all these vague words that don't even feel good to us. And we have a hard time tying them to real tangible results. And so it feels awkward because we're putting the balance, we're putting gold coins for them. The balance crashes to the table. And then the other side, we're talking about airy-fairy words that are hard to define, and we don't have a good sense of how to define them. So the potential client, they can't do that. All that contributes to the sleaze, the feeling of we're selling air and asking for gold coins. So here's the challenge. If you want to sell without sleaze, You have to have a clear, absolute idea, description of what they take home in the shopping bag. And I help you get out of your own way doesn't cut it. I help you step into your power is nonsense. I help you be your best self is bullshit. It's airy-fairy words that you and I, if we use them, hope the client is going to hear those and go, oh, wow, that's worth a lot. No, it isn't. We got to build that bridge with them, at least with them, so that they get a sense that that shopping bag's heavy. Wow. So whatever's in the gold coin side, this shopping bag is way heavier. I love that. Now, you're going to have to figure out those words. I'd love to help you. Like, if you don't know how to do that, let's talk. Reach out. There's a URL right here, Kellen Flukiger Media. There's a contact form there. Reach out and let's talk about that, because I can help you do that. We have to be able to talk through all the way to the end, right? Because if somebody's putting $100,000 worth of gold coins in, if your coaching is 100,000 or 150,000 like mine is, you're going to ask them to put a great pile of gold coins in there. And boy, there better be something heavy in that shopping bag. And they need to have that experience. So your ability, my ability, to create that experience of a shopping bag that's really heavy, not airy-fairy, is the determiner. That means you have to be able to show up in such a way that they sense real power, that being with and around you is like nothing they've ever experienced, that just standing and being in your presence, they light up with a sense of awesome power, because that sense of power that they have from your presence lets them see all kinds of vision they couldn't otherwise see. If I'm looking at a great big goal and I think I can never do that, I can't make that happen. How the frick would I do that? And then suddenly I'm in a state of mind brought on because you come talk to me, and being in your presence all of a sudden clears out all the fog. And I see that possibility right there clearly. And I feel seen and heard and empowered and loved and like, oh, of course I can do that. Well, I pay anything for that because I want to feel like that all the time. Because you know what happens when I feel like that, or you do? We get stuff done. We take risks we wouldn't otherwise take. Okay, one of the ways I say that is I helped you elevate the substance, sweetness, and success. The substance, the real stuff. Sweetness is how it feels, and success are the external measures of life's journey. How? By daring more greatly, doing things you wouldn't dare do otherwise, experiencing more deeply, and leaning in more joyously. Like, when you go after a project with more heart and soul, things get done, they get done faster, they get done better, and you have more fun. That's obvious. So when you think about what you're doing as a coach, or what I'm doing, we got to create that. And there's no room then for my ego or your ego or neediness. Here are some big turnoffs. Okay? If you're needy, if you think I need a client, you're done. You're finished. That energy's just torched the conversation. You don't need anything. What you need is to serve. What you need is to be a beacon of light, a vessel of love, and a conduit of power. Because when you infuse them with power, then they'll pay you. Because they know I got power. Every time I'm with you, touch you, talk to you, I get power. Your beam, your TAL beam, time, attention, and love, has to be pure, on fire, and powerful. They have to feel like they're the only person in the universe. And that being with and around you gives them such love, acknowledgement, and excitement that they know absolutely without question they can do anything, and then they carry it forward. Right? If any of your time, attention, and love is on you, your need, your budget, how many people you need to talk to, et cetera, you're finished. So I'm not going to go on today. This is a whole hour's conversation. But I have learned to do this. I used to suck at it. I was terrible, and I blew all kinds of stuff. That doesn't happen anymore. Closing clients, creating clients, enrolling clients is easy. And it's easy because of the principles that I've just explained to you. And you can learn how because I learned how. I didn't know how, I learned how, now I teach how. And I use it. So if you don't know how to completely sell without sleaze, to eliminate that knot in your stomach, that weird feeling, that poison moment that kills the combo, if you don't know how to do that, let's talk. Because I can help you do that. And you need to have that or you got no business. You're right. Your business is going to die. Excuse me, your self-doubt goes off the charts. Then what have we got left? I love you. You deserve to be well paid. You deserve to have the ability to add good to the world any and every way you want to. And all that is within your grasp. That's why I talk every time about this ultimate life thing. Purpose, prosperity, and joy. You can create that starting today. See you tomorrow.